Answer me. Who is this? Do you realize you're driving me crazy? Who's calling me? What are you doing it for? Now stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Then something went wrong with the car. It stalled right on the tracks. The train was coming closer. I could hear its bell, its cry, its whistle crying. Still, he stood there. Now I knew that he was beckoning me to my death.
Welcome to Reimagined Radio, a program about radio storytelling. With each episode, we explore how dialogue, sound effects, and music can combine to promote storytelling and engage your listening imagination. We also like to include the stories behind the story, the history, the connections, trivia, and we always strive to answer the questions, so what? And why is this important? This episode is no different. And here to tell you about it is John Barber, producer and host.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reimagined Radio. This episode celebrates Women's History Month and women who made pioneering and significant contributions to radio storytelling. We sample radio work from 8 women: Lucille Fletcher, Edith Meiser, Ruth Woodman, Mary MacBride, Jean King, Cathy Lewis, Margaret Lynch, and Gracie Allen. Thanks for joining us as Reimagined Radio presents Radio Women. We began our episode with samples from Reimagined Radio's adaptations of Sorry, Wrong Number, and The Hitchhiker, both written by Lucille Fletcher, lauded by no less an authority than Orson Welles as radio's most talented writer. Visit our website, reimaginedradio.fm, and listen to our adaptations of these 2 superb radio dramas by Lucille Fletcher. These adaptations are also available as podcasts, which you can download from our website. This is Reimagined Radio. Our episode is Radio Women, a tribute to women and radio programs that made pioneering and significant contributions to radio storytelling. We tune the dial now to Edith Meiser. Edith Meiser, Broadway actress, novelist, writer of mysteries and radio dramas, introduced Sherlock Holmes, the detective's detective, to American radio audiences. From 1930 to 1936, Meiser adapted 59 of the 60 Sherlock Holmes stories by Arthur Conan Doyle into episodes for 3 radio series: Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes Stories, and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. In 1939, following the success of Hollywood's Sherlock Holmes films starring Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, Meiser began adapting and writing more Holmes stories for a radio series called The New Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Bruce Partington Plans is the earliest of the surviving episodes from this radio series. It was first broadcast November 6, 1939. Let's listen to some samples.
Mrs. Hudson's knocking. Excited. What's up, I wonder? Yes, Mrs. Hudson, what is it? Oh, a telegram for me.
Yes, sir.
Very well, thank you.
Oh, well, what's it say?
Oh, it's from my brother, Mycroft. You remember him. It says, must see you about Cadogan West, coming at once.
Cadogan West? Why, that's the young chap who's found dead in the underground on Tuesday morning. I remember reading about it in the papers.
Oh?
The young man had apparently fallen out of a train and killed himself. He hadn't been robbed, and there was no reason to suspect violence. Quite an uninteresting case.
Do you recall any other facts about the affair?
Yes, I come to think of it, there was one unusual bit. They were unable to ascertain at what point he entered the train, because his ticket was missing.
Strange. What articles were found on the body?
£2.15, I believe it was, a checkbook, and... Oh, yes, 2 dress circle tickets for the Woolwich Theatre, dated for that evening.
Theatre tickets, eh? Then it wasn't suicide. A man doesn't procure theater tickets for the evening on which he intends to end his life. Anything else?
A small packet of technical papers.
What kind of technical papers?
The newspapers didn't say.
Ah. What did the young man do? Where was he employed?
He was a clerk at Woolwich Arsenal.
Ah, government employee. There we have it, Watson. British government, Woolwich Arsenal, technical papers. That's why Mycroft is involved in this affair.
I don't understand.
Ah, here he is. Come in, come in. Hello, Mycroft. What's up? What's up? You know Watson, of course.
Yes, of course.
You know anything about the case?
Watson's just been telling me what was in the newspapers. Just what were the technical papers found on the body?
Sherlock, for the love of heaven, not so loud. Those papers which the wretched youth had in his pocket were none other than the plans of the Bruce Partington submarine.
Oh?
The submarine which will completely revolutionize naval warfare. The most important papers in our government archives. Under no circumstances could they be removed from the office. 10 papers taken from Woolwich. 7 were found in the pockets of Cadogan West. 3 are still missing, the 3 essential ones. To recover those 3 papers is imperative. The peace of Europe depends on them.
Nice little problem, eh, Watson? Why did Cadogan West take the papers? How did he die? How did his body reach the place where it was found? And where are the missing papers?
I've got a cab waiting outside to take the place where the body was found. I can give you the details on the way.
Who was the official guardian of these famous papers?
No less a personage than Sir James Walter, a gentleman who's grown grey in the service. His patriotism is beyond suspicion.
A bachelor, if I'm not mistaken. Lives with his brother.
Yes. He was at the house of Admiral Sinclair at Berkeley Square during the whole of the evening when this accident occurred. The Admiral vouches for him. He's one of the 2 who have the only keys to the safe.
And his key was with him all evening?
Right. His key, the key to the building, and the key to the room.
Who was the man with the other key?
The senior clerk, Mr. Sidney Johnson. Man of 40, married, silent, morose, with an excellent service record.
Any alibi?
He, too, had his key with him and seems to have spent the evening playing a game of drafts with the green grocer around the corner from his lodgings.
What about Cadogan West?
He had a good reputation, a bit hot-headed, but straight and honest. At least, everyone thought so. He was next to Sidney Johnson at the office. His duties brought him into daily personal contact with the plans. No one else ever had the handling of them.
They were of value, commercially, I mean.
Oh, yes. There's no doubt that West could have got several thousands for them very easily.
And yet, only a small amount of money was found on the body.
Perhaps the buyer took it back after he'd murdered West.
What puzzles me is, how did West obtain possession of those papers? To do so, he must have had a false key.
Several false keys, Sherlock. He had to open the building and the room as well.
Oh, well. Several false keys, then. Let me see. Suppose West did take the papers and went into town. And on the way back to Woolwich, where he is hoping to replace the papers, he's killed and thrown from the train.
But the spot where the body was found is considerably past the station for London Bridge, which is the route to Woolwich.
It's interesting. Also, if young West did make an appointment with some foreign agent to sell the papers that night, why didn't he keep the evening clear? Why buy 2 theater tickets?
Exactly. Furthermore, he actually escorted his fiancée halfway there before he disappeared.
Why did he take the papers at all? Why not copy them out in the office and sell the copies? He certainly had plenty of opportunity to do so. And why the absence of his underground ticket?
After all, it's perfectly obvious that the young man had a quarrel with someone, in all probability the agent, to whom he sold the papers, and got himself thrown out of the railway carriage for his pains.
I disagree with you, my dear Watson. His body fell from the roof of the carriage where it had been placed. Cadogan West met his death elsewhere.
The roof of the train?
Consider the facts, Watson. A, the curve in the tracks. The body is found at a spot where the train pitches and sways as it comes around the points. B, there was no ticket. C, there were no signs of bleeding on the line because the body had bled elsewhere.
Of course. Everything fits together, but where was the body placed on the train?
I think I can make a fair guess at that, my dear Watson. Oh, here we are. This is the famous official villa of Sir James Walter. And that, if I'm not mistaken, is his brother, Colonel Valentine, just coming out of the house.
What's the matter with the man? He looks positively haunted.
Oh, pardon me, Colonel Valentine, but can you tell me if Sir James is at home?
Sir James, sir? Sir James is dead.
Good heavens, dead?
He died this morning. It's terrible. Terrible.
How did he die?
Oh, it's this horrible scandal. My brother, sir, was very sensitive of his honor. He couldn't survive the disgrace to his department. It broke his heart. Pardon me, gentlemen, I must go. It broke his heart.
Most appalling development. Eh, Holmes?
I wonder if his death was natural, or if the poor fellow killed himself.
Yes?
Will you tell Miss Westbury that Mr. Sherlock Holmes would like to see her?
Oh, please come in, gentlemen. I'm Violet Westbury, Mr. Holmes. I've been expecting you ever since I heard you had taken the case. Please be seated.
Well, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, we must save his good name. He couldn't have done it. Cadogan was the most chivalrous, patriotic gentleman on earth. He couldn't have done it.
You noticed any signs of mental excitement?
Oh, that night, I had a feeling that there was something on his mind.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the way to the theater. We were walking slowly. Our way took us close to his office. Cadogan seemed thoughtful and worried.
Hello, what's that?
What's what?
Over there, that shadow moving along the side of the building. It's a man. So that's it. I always suspected.
Oh, what's the matter? You're so excited. What's wrong?
Stay here, Violet. There's something I have to find out. Stay here.
I waited and waited, but he never returned.
Come along, Watson. We must return home. I'm expecting an answer to some telegrams I sent Mycroft earlier this afternoon.
Holmes, where have you been all day?
Investigating the premises inhabited by foreign spies known to have been in London on last Monday. Mycroft sent me a list of them. I discovered there was only one residence which had the proper facilities for disposing of West's body after the murder.
Well, whose residence was that?
It belongs to a Hugo Oberstein. The address is 13 Caulfield Gardens, Kensington.
What can we do now?
We're going to keep a rendezvous with the gentleman who stole and sold those plans. The assignation will take place at Mr. Oberstein's house this evening at 9.
What the deuce are you talking about?
These newspaper clippings. I found them in the drawer of Hugo Oberstein's desk. Read them.
The Daily Telegraph agony column. The first one says, too complex for description, must have full report, terms agreed to, payable when goods delivered. Signed Piero. Piero, indeed. Sounds like a Mardi Gras.
Now, read on, Watson, read on.
Second goes, matter presses must withdraw offer unless contract completed. Piero again.
And the last, dated Monday, the day the crime was committed.
Monday night after 9, 2 taps, payment in hard cash. I say, do you think it was a submarine that the plans that he was buying?
I'm almost positive. And Piero was Oberstein himself. But we'll find out for certain this evening. I've invited the gentleman who sold the papers to meet us.
How? I don't understand.
I inserted this advertisement in today's Daily Telegraph. Tonight, same hour, same place, 2 taps, vitally important. Your own safety at stake. Signed, Piero, as usual.
By George, if he answers that, we've got him.
Unless we're too late. Come along, Watson. There's no time to lose. 9 o'clock. We can expect him at any moment now. You take your position on one side of the door. I'll be on the other. We can pounce on him when he enters. I'll throw my greatcoat over his head.
Oh, well, I wish he'd hurry.
Shh, Watson.
Well, what if he doesn't come?
There he is. Ready now. I'll open the door.
You wanted me?
No, you don't. Take that.
What the... Easy, Watson, easy.
All right, Holmes, I've got him.
Well, let's take a look at our catch. Take the overcoat away, Watson.
Right. Hi, it's Colonel Valentine Walter, Sir James's brother.
Quite. Well, sir, what have you to say for yourself? Why did you steal the Bruce Partington plans?
Who are you? What do you know about this?
I am Sherlock Holmes, and I know everything.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm lost. I didn't realize their importance until my brother killed himself. But I needed the money. I had to have it. Oberstein offered to give it to me if I'd let him see the plans.
So you took an impression of your brother's key, opened the safe, and procured the papers. Cadogan West saw you leaving the building, followed you here, and you killed him.
No, I didn't do that. I swear I didn't do it. I did the rest. I confess it, but not that.
Very well, then. How did it happen?
I got the papers, as you've discovered. Made my way through the fog until I reached the door. Once or twice, I fancied I was being followed. I could hear footsteps on the pavement behind me.
Colonel Walter?
Yes?
You have the papers?
Yes. Let me in, quick. I think someone's been following me.
Yes, it's me. You can't do this, Valentine. It's treason.
Corey, do you hear?
No, you can't sell the papers, Valentine. I won't let you.
They should see.
Look out, West.
How do you like that, my impetuous young friend? Papa Oberstein, he knows how to use a blackjack, eh?
You've killed him.
So?
It's murder. I'm going to get out of this.
Oh, no. I think different. You will come in here if you do not wish to taste the blackjack, too.
But
That is better.
Oh, what can we do? They'll find the body.
I have an idea. First, I look at those papers. I take the ones I want, and the rest we put in the pocket of this foolish young man. And then we give him a nice ride on top of the underground train, no? He will be the guilty one. Who will ever know?
What a thoroughly unpleasant gentleman. What a pity that he got away with the papers, Dr. Watson.
Oh, but he didn't. Oberstein had left a Paris forwarding address with Colonel Walters. That gentleman sent him a letter dictated by Holmes, saying that he had discovered that one essential detail in the plans was missing, and that he had procured a tracing which would make it complete for a price.
And did Oberstein swallow the bait?
Did he swallow it? He was arrested as he got off the boat at Folkestone. Elementary, my dear Mr. Manning, elementary.
Like Edith Meiser, Ruth Woodman was a detective of sorts. She researched and wrote more than 1,000 stories for the popular radio program Death Valley Days, 1930 to 1951. In 1930, Woodman was employed at the McCann Erickson Advertising Agency in New York. When client Pacific Coast Borax Company, makers of 20 Mule Team Borax, a popular laundry and washing soap, agreed to sponsor a Western-themed radio program, they required the writer to have first-hand knowledge of the Death Valley area, the source of their product. Woodman eagerly agreed to the challenge. She spent summers researching the history and peoples of the Death Valley area. She explored the old towns and mines, talked with everyone she could, visited small-town historical museums, and read old newspapers. She returned to New York and used the information she gathered to write the next season's Death Valley Days radio episodes. The result was a highly successful radio show where Woodman's alter ego, the narrator known as the Old Ranger, told stories with an unmatched realism and drama. Her stories often dealt with the people of Death Valley, the miners and prospectors, the seekers of lost mines and buried treasure. Shoefly, the story of a female prospector, is a good example. Let's listen to samples from this June 16, 1939 episode of Death Valley Days.
And now for the Old Ranger and his evening's yarn, which has the extraordinary title of Shoefly.
Well, the title's no more extraordinary than the woman herself.
Shoefly was a woman?
Yes, woman prospector.
Well...
Oh, now, I've come across plenty of women prospectors in my time. Some of them I've already told you about. Now, there was Happy Days at Goldfield, remember?
Yeah.
Went on that glorious junket at the age of 80, hopping freights clear across the continent and back.
Yes, I remember.
And Silver Susie, that operated a mine at Cerro Gordo for years and years in order to put her children through school and college. And Ma Riggs and Hard Pan Hattie and, I've known a bunch of them in the desert around Death Valley. But none of them quite like the woman I'm going to tell you about tonight. I can remember perfectly the first time I ever met her. Me and Eddie Granite had come to Independence to file a claim we just located up in the Panamints. As we walked into the county recorder's office, we found him busy with another customer. A smallish woman with sharp eyes and wispy gray hair, and dressed. It's funny how I remember such things. She's dressed in a gray and white calico dress and a black straw hat.
To corner monument number 4, thence northwest 300 feet to place of beginning, including all dips, spurs, angles, and variations. Mm-hmm. This looks all right?
Of course it's all right.
The name of the mining claim above described is and shall be known as I'm sorry, I can't quite make this out. It looks like Shoefly.
Here's Shoefly. Because it expresses my sentiments.
You mean,
Shoefly, don't bother me.
Oh, I see. Notice the claim jumpers, eh?
Exactly.
Well, let's hope they take the hint.
They'd better.
Located this 21st day of May, 1906. This your signature here?
Yeah.
There's no other?
I got only one name.
No, I mean there's no other locator?
No.
Well.
Law don't call for more than one, does it?
Oh, no. No, of course not.
Then why'd you act so surprised?
Well, you see, you're being a woman, I thought...
Plenty of women locate claims.
Well, they generally have partners, though.
Men partners.
Yep.
More fools, eh?
Maybe.
Yep. What do I owe you?
Recorder's fee is $1.
All right. Here you are.
Now, you understand about assessment work. State law calls for $100 worth each year to be...
I know all about that.
All right. Just wanted to make sure. Folks have been known to lose legal right to a claim because they didn't do the necessary development work.
Don't worry. I won't be losing my rights to this claim.
I hope not.
Good day.
Good day, madam. And good luck to the shoe fly.
Gosh, what a charter. Hey, who is she, Jim?
I don't know. I never saw her before today.
If you never see her again, it'll be too soon, huh?
Well, I know 2 desert rats I am glad to see. Where you fellas been all this time?
Oh, scratching around.
Did you find anything?
Would we be here if we hadn't?
What have you located this time, boys? The lost gun site?
Maybe.
It's silver, anyhow.
And in the Panamints.
Here's a copy of the location notice.
Oh, let's see it. Uh-huh. Notice hereby given to the undersigned of located 1,500 feet by 600 feet, vein situated between Tilbury Canyon and Wild Rose Canyon in the Panamint Mining District. Wow. That's a funny thing.
What is?
Why, that's the same locality as where she just located her claim.
Who?
That woman who was just in here.
You mean that...
Old shoe fly?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll be darned.
Are you sure?
Well, here's the location notice she filed.
Let me see.
See?
Situated south of Wild Rose Canyon.
And north of Tuber Canyon.
Now, that can't be any place but between the two.
No.
You're right.
Neighbors, eh? Well, that'll make it nice.
I don't think.
Well, we run out of butter and eggs, but we can borrow from her. Well, hot weather set in about then, and Eddie and me quit the desert for several months. The time we was ready to go back and start work on our claim, we'd forgot all about our shoe fly neighbor till we was part way up the canyon.
Hello.
What's the matter?
Look at that.
Where?
That sign.
Private property. Keep off. No trespassing. Penal code provision. Well, can you beat that?
That ain't all neither. Look.
A chain across the trail.
Get up, Kelly.
Wait a minute, Eddie. What are you going to do?
Right under it.
That's pretty low now. I don't think you can negotiate, not unless you unpack.
Well, then we'll take it down.
Is it padlocked?
No.
Good.
Well, I'll unfasten it and you can drive the burrs through.
You'll do nothing of the kind. I'm the owner here. Nobody goes through without my say-so.
Why, it's her.
The shoe fly woman.
Oh, you know me, huh?
Well, yes, of course.
We was in the county recorder's office the same time you was, last June.
And he blabbed to you, did he?
No, certainly not.
Well, we couldn't help overhearing the name of your claim, though.
And its location and a few other important things.
Well, we did...
And now you come snooping around to see what I got.
Oh, not at all, ma'am.
Well, you won't have a chance to see nothing, because I'm letting nobody pass this chain.
Yeah, but, madam...
And if you try to force your way past, you'll get this.
Hey, wait a minute.
A gun.
Slow to do, and I'm a good shot.
Well, now, listen, ma'am.
You heard what I said.
We're
Go on, vamoose.
Well, let me explain.
No back talk now.
We ain't trespassers.
No.
Huh? Didn't look like it taking down that chain.
We got a claim further up the canyon. Now, if you don't believe it, we'll show you the records.
Yeah, we're on our way up there now.
Not by this trail, you ain't.
Yeah, but we...
And that's final.
Well, this is the only direct trail, ma'am.
Yeah, to get up there from the other side, we'd have to go away to Heck and back.
Yeah, that's your funeral.
Well, now, surely you wouldn't put us to all that time and trouble, ma'am.
You see that chain, don't you?
Well, yes, but...
And you see that sign?
Sure.
And you see this gun. I don't know how I can make it any plainer to you. Unless I...
Hey, be careful.
Hey, what do you mean shooting at us like that?
That's your starting signal.
You...
And you turn your outfit around and start down this trail, do you hear? And if you ain't on your way by the time I count 10, I'll shoot again. And this time I'll take good aim.
But...
1, 2...
Why, you...
3...
Come on, Eddie, come on. There's no use arguing with us.
The old she-devil.
Turn around, Kate. Turn around. Down we go.
7... 8...
Well, sir, that was the beginning of our troubles with our neighbor Shoefly. Not only did we have to take a long, roundabout, difficult trail back and forth to our property, but whenever she got so much as a glimpse of us, she'd come a-stalking around with that gun of hers. The first storm of the winter set in. For almost a week it snowed, and the wind blowed a gale. Even after the storm had cleared, the drifts were so deep that it was just about impossible to break any kind of a trail. So you can imagine our surprise one day as we was sitting playing checkers. My gosh, it sounds like... It is.
Shoe fly.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord you're here. I was afraid maybe you'd gone, cleared out before the storm.
No, we've been here right along.
Come in. Here, let me give you a hand. Pull that chair up for her, Eddie, by the stove there.
All right.
That's it. She's half frozen.
Yeah, how about some whiskey?
No.
Yeah, you'd better.
No.
It'll do you good, ma'am. That'll warm you up.
Yeah, put new life into you.
Didn't do him no good. He just turned bluer and bluer.
Who?
I'll sing.
Who?
I'll sing. Chinaman is working for me.
What are you talking about?
I'll sing.
Well, is he sick?
Dead.
What?
Dead?
Yep.
When?
Where?
Oh, 4 or 5 days ago. Last Tuesday, I think it was.
Over at your place?
Yep.
Gosh.
Yeah. What was the matter with him?
I don't know. He took bad all of a sudden with pains. I brought him into the shack and done everything I could for him, but then he had a convulsion and he died.
Good Lord.
Where's he now?
Right where he died, of course. Right where he's been for the past 5 days and 5 nights. Laying on the bunk, just a-staring and a-staring.
5 days and 5 nights. Snowed in with a corpse.
Gosh.
It was awful. The night especially. Storm a-howling outside. Him laid out there so... Oh, I never knowed before what it is to be afraid. I've always said there was nothing in God's world could scare me. But when it ain't in this world, when it's something dead, stiff and staring...
You take it easy now, ma'am.
Yeah. I try not to think about it.
Well, you'll let me stay here, won't you?
Why, of course.
Sure.
You just make yourself comfortable here for the night. In the morning, we'll all go back up to your place.
Not me.
All right, then. You can stay here, and Eddie and me will go over and tend to things.
I'm never going back there.
What?
I'll never set foot on that ground again.
You mean that...
I'm quitting.
You going to sell out?
Oh, sell out or just clear out. I'm all through with the shoe fly. And I'm all through with the Panamints in the desert.
Hey, man.
Oh, well, now. You may feel different later on.
I'm not waiting to find out. I'm going back to Idaho, where I come from, just as fast as I can get there.
The artists featured in tonight's Death Valley Days program were Irene Hubbard, the Old Ranger John MacBride, Milton C. Herman, Frank Butler, and Jeffrey Bryant.
While Woodman presented the realism and drama of the Old West with her Death Valley Days radio series, Mary Margaret MacBride personified the women's radio show genre. Called the First Lady of Radio, MacBride hosted the Mary Margaret MacBride Show, 1934 to 1976. As a pioneering radio interview host, MacBride talked about current events and issues of the world important to women. She talked with people well known in the world of arts, entertainment, and politics with an original and natural style. For example, MacBride interviewed Zora Neale Hurston, American author who portrayed early 1900s racial struggles in the American South. Hurston also published research on hoodoo, a spiritual tradition among African Americans in the southern United States. In this January 1943 interview, Hurston and MacBride talk about cooking, Southern heritage, literature, and zombies. It's a notable interview. Let's listen to a sample.
Zora, when you got to the zombie, I noticed you kind of left him out of this book. Talk about the zombie just a wee little bit.
Well, a zombie is supposed to be the living dead. People who die and are resurrected, but without their souls. And they can take orders, and they're supposed to be never to be tired, and to do what the master says without cease and without being tired. Naturally, it would be futile for me to attempt to try to explain everything. I do know that people have been resurrected in Haiti. I do not believe that they were actually dead. I believe it was suspended animation. And since there's no embalming there, it's possible. And since people are not buried below ground, they have the above-ground vaults as they do in New Orleans. And they take corpses out. It's been proven, there have been cases proven where folks have been dead and folks thought they were done for, and months later somebody finds them somewhere in some hidden place, actually alive, but without their minds. And the process is that the Bokar, you know, they have two kinds of priests in Haiti. The Hungan, which is the regular voodoo priest, and then the Bokar, who's supposed to be a wicked priest. It is stated that a Hungan is not a Bokar, and a Bokar is not a Hungan. However, one and the same person sometimes acts the same, so that you have to take that with a sort of box of salt about one of them not being the same. But anyway, they know something. They go and awaken the person from the grave, and the Society des Morts, the Society of the Dead, goes with him, and they surround this tomb at midnight with their lights. And the Bokar goes inside, and with supposedly the soul of the dead man in his hand. Some Bokar say they carried in a bottle. Others say they carried it in his hand, and they began to strike this dead body to wake him up, and at the same time holding his soul on his nose. And he must answer, because his soul is there. And so he answers, and when he begins to stir, they handcuff him so that he can't resist. And then they beat him, and finally wake him up thoroughly. And he's carried in the center of this Society of the Dead, and they must march him past his house where he lived, because if they don't, he will regain his consciousness someday. But if they carry him past the house where he lives, he will never remember again who he was or where he lived or anything. He will just be an animated person. And maybe he's taken to some distant plantation and put to work. And his relatives think that the person... But before that, he goes to the Humfort. That is the voodoo temple. And there he's given a drop or two of a colorless liquid, and in the course of a ceremony, and he will never remember again. Of course, they never give them salt. They claim that salt will tend to counteract that, and they will remember who they are. And this particular zombie, whom I photographed, whom I think I'm the first person on Earth, and probably the last one to ever photograph a zombie, she had died in 1907, and nobody saw her anymore until 1936, when she was found naked on a road. But she remembered a little. She remembered where she used to live, and she went to this plantation that used to be her father's, which was now her brother's. She was identified by her brother, her ex-husband, her son, who was now grown. He was 2 or 3 years old when she died in 1907, and she was identified, and she was officially identified by the Haitian government, and there was all the records of her death and her burial, and I photographed her in 1936. Mm-hmm. And in Haiti. The picture was published first in Life magazine and is in this book here, Tell My Horse, the picture of the zombie.
See, I've never read Tell My Horse. That's why I didn't know it.
Yes. Zombies do exist, but the moot question is whether they can raise people from the dead. I think it is that they have brought drugs from Africa, which the so-called civilized world does not know about, but which they will find about, perhaps eventually, and which produce certain effects that we don't know about.
Suspended animation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That could be.
Yes.
It seems, I've heard that theory advanced before, I suppose.
Certainly there are too many cases of proven zombies to claim they do not arouse people who've been allegedly dead.
This is Reimagined Radio. I'm John Barber, producer and host. We'll return to our Radio Women episode in just a moment. But first, let me introduce you to The Fusebox Show. Produced by Mark Rose, it's a different kind of radio storytelling, full of quirky conversation, quick wit, and commentary about current-day events and news. It's a radio show for everybody, but not everybody will like it. But I think you will. Here's a sample.
Fusebox. Yeah, I think it's time to drop the mental health hammer on old Louie.
And if she drowns, she's not a witch.
It has to do with the revealing of a soon-to-be-born infant.
And that involves setting something on fire?
Catch Fusebox the first Wednesday of the month at 12:30 p.m. here on KXRW 99.9.
Learn more and subscribe to the podcast at the Fusebox Show website, thefuseboxshow.com. This is Reimagined Radio. Our episode is Radio Women, a tribute to women and radio programs that made pioneering and significant contributions to radio storytelling. During the late 1940s, radio disc jockeys became a prominent program feature. These individuals played phonograph records of their own selection or in response to listeners' requests. Mostly they were men, but there were some exceptional women. One was Lonesome Gal, whose sultry, come-hither, breathless voice was heard on syndicated radio stations across the country from 1947 into the 1950s. Lonesome Gal spoke to her primary male audience in an intimate tone, as if they were enjoying a candlelight dinner and wine, calling them pet names, sounding as if each was the only man in the world. Between her cooing monologues, Lonesome Gal played records by contemporary singers and musicians. Occasionally, she sang her theme song, Lonesome Gal. In real life, Lonesome Gal was Jean King. She wrote and produced Lonesome Gal, sending nearly 300 customized recordings to radio stations around the country each week. Despite success with Lonesome Gal, King worked hard to remain anonymous. When she made public appearances, King wore a cat mask to hide her identity. Let's listen to samples from I Want to Be Loved, the March 2nd, 1951 episode of Lonesome Gal.
No matter what anybody says, I love you better than anybody in the whole world. Lonesome, I'm a real lonesome gal. I can't stop feeling lonesome. Heaven knows when I shall. Hi, baby. This is your lonesome gal. Got a couple of minutes to visit with me before you get too involved in your up-and-coming weekend? You better have, or I'll be very disappointed. You know how I like you. Real relaxed with your tie loosened. Who knows what tomorrow may bring? I wonder whether I'll know when my heart starts to sing. Dream boy, who do you love? You know, it's funny, but I don't think I've ever asked you that before. Not that I think your answer will specially be me, but I'm sure hoping that somewhere in that great big heart of yours you've saved a tiny corner for me. I need to be loved, Angel. With all I have in my association with you, I still have a little feeling of insecurity, and I still have a tremendous feeling of loneliness. I have the most peculiar sensation of being a wanderer for some reason, even though I think I belong here. Maybe I want to be loved. You know, dreamer, the good things of life were meant to be shared. What's a beautiful sunset when you see it alone? Only half as beautiful. What's a lovely song when you hear it by yourself? Only half as lovely. And that's how it goes with all the other things that make life rich and wonderful. Angel, wouldn't it be wonderful to be blessed with profound wisdom along the lines of life's most important subjects? I would love, for instance, to be able to give a logical explanation for all of the strange and unusual things people do when they're in love. There's really no reason for a person to stumble blindly off a curb or make his exits in familiar territory through a closet that's filled with brooms and dustpans. And it doesn't make sense to me to have your heart beat so fast that you feel like you're going to faint just because another person enters a room. Yet it happens. Forgetfulness and confusion and mental preoccupation always seem to go hand in hand with romance. Baby, I don't know all the elements that make you what you are, but I think I know the good things in life that you like. the exciting performance of an Indianapolis car, the graceful lines of a racing cutter, the precision timing of a Davis Cup champion? Well, baby, week's up, but I've surely had a fine one with you visiting each night. I'll be back again on Monday, and I'll look forward to having you with me. Meanwhile, have a nice weekend. Be careful. And don't forget that your lonesome gal loves you better than anybody in the whole world. Who knows what tomorrow may bring? I wonder whether I'll know when my heart starts to sing. If you have love to spare, lips to share, why don't you?
This is Reimagined Radio. Our episode pays tribute to women who made pioneering and significant contributions to radio storytelling. So far, we've highlighted women writers, talk show hosts, and a singing disc jockey. Time now to acknowledge some pioneering radio actresses. Cathy Lewis was a well-respected radio actor in Hollywood, California during the 1940s and 1950s. She played Irene Henshaw, the school principal in the Great Gildersleeve series. She was a strong supporting actress in over 120 episodes of suspense, including The House in Cypress Canyon and On a Country Road with Cary Grant. She was the monotone and unsympathetic telephone operator driving Agnes Moorehead to hysterics in Lucille Fletcher's Sorry, Wrong Number. Her biggest role, perhaps, was as the co-star and narrator of the weekly series My Friend Irma, 1947 to 1954, where she played Jane Stacy, sensible best friend to Irma Peterson, voiced by Marie Wilson. Let's listen to the first scene from the first episode, Irma Meets Jane, broadcast April 11, 1947.
I was walking along looking for a place to live in New York, and by a strange coincidence, I am having a very tough time. And I keep bumping into people, and I keep saying, I beg your pardon. Excuse me, until...
Oh, excuse me. I just never look where I'm going. I just keep walking with my head high, just like the doctor told me, and taking deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling like this. And I keep counting to myself, 1, 2, 3...
Look, miss, will you stop counting long enough to help me up?
Oh, of course. You must be uncomfortable on your knees.
Oh, no, not at all, honey. I'd love it down here if I was Al Jolson.
Did you see that picture, the Jolson story? I just loved it. I cried and cried.
Fine. Now, would you please help me up?
Oh, certainly. Here, give me your hand. Oh, my, what a beautiful ring. You know, my boyfriend, Al, he was going to get me one just like that. We had it all picked out, only you know what happened?
It wouldn't fit your nose.
Well, it wasn't for my nose. It was for my finger. It wouldn't fit my nose.
I wish it had. I could have pulled myself up.
Oh, you want to get up, don't you?
Yes, if you please. I can't make much time crawling.
I can't either. I always walk. Well, here we go. Up the daisy. Oh, careful, your dress. Oh, we ripped it, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
But you know something? They're wearing split skirts in New York this year.
Yeah, I know, but not all the way up to the neck.
Hey, we haven't been introduced yet. My name's Irma. What's yours?
Goodbye.
Oh, what an unusual name. What's your last name?
Forever.
That's a pretty name, miss. Goodbye forever.
Oh, Irma.
Sticking with comedy, let's talk about the woman often called radio's best comedy writer, Margaret Peg Frances Lynch started at Kate Radio in Albert Lee, Minnesota, where she created a comedy about a married couple, Ethel and Albert, and set the mold for her career, during which she wrote 11,000 scripts for radio and television, creating and voicing female characters in couples comedies. She was also the first woman to create, write, star in, and own a radio couples comedy series, The Couple Next Door, a husband-wife-centered situation comedy heard 1957 to 1960. She starred in each 15-minute episode. Let's sample Neighborhood Bully, broadcast December 31st, 1957.
Hello. Yeah? Oh, yes, Mrs. Kendall. Well, I guess the children did have a little fuss, but... Well, now, just a minute.
Who is it, dear?
I beg to differ with you, but it so happened that it was Betsy's turn on the sled, and Mary Lou just pushed her down. My daughter's got a terrible bump on her head. It just missed her eye by a fraction.
Dear, if it's the oil burner man, he can come Thursday. I'll be home.
Now, look here, Mrs. Kendall. Are you implying that my child does not tell the truth? Well, let me tell you something about your children. Yes, just put him on the phone. Just put him on the phone. I'll be glad to talk to him.
It's the oil burner man, dear.
It is not the oil burner man. It's Kendall's. Mrs. Kendall accused Betsy of not telling the truth.
Oh!
I'm going to talk to him.
Well, I certainly...
Hello. Hello, Kendall. That's right. Certainly, I believe my own child.
Mary Lou threw a big rock at Betsy one day, too. You might get that in.
Now, look here, Kendall. Considering the fact that it was my daughter's sled to begin with, it seems to me... Roughneck!
Who's a roughneck? Betsy?
Now, look here, Kendall. For a man whose kids are known around the entire neighborhood as troublemakers, it seems to me that... Yes, I'll repeat that, troublemakers. I certainly would repeat it in person, by all means. Betsy?
Oh, dear. No.
Betsy! Yes? Come here. Here, come here. Now, look. Now, you answer your father truthfully. Is it true that Mary Lou deliberately pushed you down and took your sled when it was your turn?
Yes, she did,
All right, that's all Daddy wants to know. Thank you. Now, go on, run outside and play. Go on.
Dear,
now, look, you better go out and get dinner. I'll handle this situation. He's coming right over.
There he is. There he is, dear. There he is, and she's with him.
Okay.
Now, don't lose your temper.
No,
You
no.
never can think of anything to say when you lose your temper.
Listen, if he wants to start something,
He's bigger than you are. He's at least 6'3".
Listen, I don't care. He is?
He looks it.
Now, look, I've got no intention of fighting. I'm just going to be very calm and dignified.
They want to be unpleasant and nasty. Let them. We don't have to stoop to any such thing. You know, like that.
I'll get it, dear. Good evening, Kendall. Mrs. Kendall. Evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Evening.
Won't you sit down?
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you. Fred?
Yes. Now, you were saying something on the phone about our children being neighborhood troublemakers, I believe.
Well, Mr. Kendall, I think we ought to start at the beginning.
I would be glad to start at the beginning. I would like to know why every time Mary Lou comes over here to play with your daughter, she comes home crying. Isn't that right, Fred?
That's right, Eleanor.
Before we go any further, it should be made clear that it was Mary Lou who not only kicked Betsy, but pushed her down. My child never has any trouble playing with other children, Mrs. Kendall.
My Mary Lou has always gotten along beautifully with all her little playmates.
The point is, Mrs. Kendall, it was Betsy's sled.
And it was Betsy's turn to have it.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
It has everything to do with it. You can't expect to have a discussion of a subject unless you get right down to the basic problem. You've got to have a logical premise.
The point is, Mrs. Kendall, it was her turn to have it, and it seems to me...
It seems to me that since Betsy's been down to our house millions of times and Mary Lou's always willing to share her things...
Millions of times is, I believe, a slight exaggeration, Mrs. Kendall.
Dear.
Well, why say millions of times? Betsy's only 6 years old. She certainly hasn't been galloping down to the Kendalls 10,000 times a day.
Well, she's certainly a good deal of the time, and not once when she's left has she ever said, "Thank you, Mrs. Kendall. I had a lovely time."
Well, maybe she didn't.
Dear.
well, I'm just joking, after all. I think perhaps we're making a mountain out of a molehill here. As I said to my wife, really, kids ought to fight their own battles, you know?
I spend hours teaching my children to have nice manners.
I dislike saying this, but after all, when your children are known in the whole neighborhood for being troublemakers...
Now, just a minute.
Everyone says so, Mr. Kendall. And I certainly think it starts trouble when your daughter refuses to let Betsy have her own sled when it was her turn to slide.
We teach our children to share things.
That's right. We believe in sharing things.
Obviously you do. I believe you're still sharing my ladder you borrowed a month ago.
Come on, Eleanor. You'll have your ladder back in 10 minutes.
Thank you. Just put it in the garage.
Oh, dear, wait a
I
minute.
will see to it that Mary Lou does not come up here to play any more and take your daughter's things.
We'll see to it that Betsy isn't down there millions of times.
Come on, Eleanor.
As a comedian, Grace Ethel Cecile Rosalie Allen, better known as Gracie Allen, was internationally famous as the partner and comic foil of husband George Burns. They appeared on radio, television, and in film as the duo Burns and Allen. Although she played a scatterbrained character, Allen was in fact very shrewd in her marketing efforts for the duo. For example, as a 14-episode publicity stunt for the Burns and Allen show, February 28 to May 29, Gracie ran for President of the United States in the 1940 election as the Surprise Party. Her campaign skits generated approximately 45 write-in votes in the election. Let's listen to samples from the Surprise Party Platform episode, broadcast March 27, 1940.
Well, Gracie, how's your campaign coming along?
Oh, it's been keeping me so busy, I haven't had time to think about it.
Gracie, you know nothing about politics.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. You don't even know what the amendments are.
Yeah? Which one?
Anyone. The 14th.
You mean the one about not abridging citizenship rights? Well, the gist of that amendment is, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States.
Well.
Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law.
That's amazing.
Nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws.
Oh, Gracie, how did you happen to know all of that?
Oh, I just took a wild guess.
A wild guess.
Vote for Gracie.
Oh, Gracie, what you mean to
Vote for Gracie.
On the island of Capri.
She's the best little skipper in the land. Vote for Gracie. Vote for Gracie.
Old Rocky has got me.
Won't you please give this little girl a hand? Even big politicians don't know what to do. Gracie doesn't know either, but neither do you. So vote for Gracie to win the presidential race. 100 million strong. That's right, you can't go wrong. Vote for Gracie. Keep voting all day long. Now, when I'm down in Washington, if there's anything that you want done, just tell me all about it now, and you'll get it done. And how? Clap hands, here comes Parker. Clap hands, here comes Parker.
When I watch mail go down the chute, I will need a vocal substitute. So tell whomever it concerns to hereby delegate to Georgie Burns.
Clap hands, here comes Noble. Clap hands, here comes Noble.
I've been thinking for some time that Congress ought to talk in rhyme. It seems quite silly, I suppose, but I get awfully bored with prose.
Clap hands, here comes Bubble. Clap hands, here comes Bubble. Now listen, and I'll state my case. The thing that I need most is space. Instead of good 5-cent cigars, I want wider Pullman cars. Clap hands, here comes Bradley. Clap hands, here comes Bradley.
I tell those folks down in Washington that washing dishes isn't fun. But still your hands can be a dream. Just use Heinz honey and almond cream.
Clap hands, here comes Georgie. Clap hands, here comes Georgie.
Now, I don't like to be a pest, but I have just one small request. If you should entertain a king, I want the king to hear me sing, oh, 8 years behaving all by myself. 8 years behaving.
Vote for Gracie, yes, yes. Vote for Gracie, yes, yes.
She's the best little bet you've ever had.
Hey! Vote, 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 vote.
If you grow gray with Gracie, you'll be glad. Oh, and speaking of gray, have you heard that it's true? Gracie favors the red and the white and the blue.
So vote for Gracie to win the presidential race. 100 million strong.
That's right, you can't go wrong. Vote for Gracie. See you at the White House. Keep voting all day long. Good night.
Good night.
This is Reimagined Radio. I'm John Barber, producer and host. With each episode, we explore radio storytelling using voice, sound effects, and music. Here are some examples.
It's a mechanical pig, one of two said to exist in the world. Have you seen the second one?
Smoke comes out! Black smoke drifting over the city! People in the streets see it now! People trying to run away from it, but it's no use! They're falling like flies!
Reimagined Radio. Nothing to see, everything to hear. Heard the third Monday of every month at 1 p.m. Sundays at 6 p.m. on KXRW 99.9 FM.
More information and listening opportunities are available at our website, reimaginedradio.fm. Reimagined Radio is also available as podcasts. Subscribe, listen, like, and review wherever you get your podcasts or from our website. Well, that concludes this episode of Reimagined Radio, Radio Women, our tribute to Women's History Month and women who made pioneering and significant contributions to radio storytelling. We sampled radio storytelling by Lucille Fletcher, Edith Meiser, Ruth Woodman, Mary MacBride, Jean King, Cathy Lewis, Margaret Lynch, and Gracie Allen. We archive episodes of Reimagined Radio as podcasts at our website, reimaginedradio.fm. You can listen or subscribe there. Podcasts are also available at the major distribution platforms. This episode of Reimagined Radio was written by John Barber. Sound design, music composition, and post-production by Mark Rose. Graphic design by Holly Slocum and Sydney Nguyen. We produce Reimagined Radio with support from KXRW-FM, Vancouver, Washington, and KXRY-FM, Portland, Oregon. This is John Barber, producer and host. Thank you for listening.
This is a production of Reimagined Radio. Our radio broadcasts are heard on local, regional, and international community radio stations. For on-demand streaming, point your browsers to our website, Reimagined Radio, all one word, no punctuation, .fm. Thank you so much for listening. And please join us again for another episode of Reimagined Radio, where we will continue our exploration of radio storytelling.